Hey, I'm Ale.
And I'm Andre.
We're both facilitators.
And we do things a bit differently.
These are our memoirs.
And we want you to be a part.
We hope you enjoy this episode.
This is Facilitators Memoirs, where we break the rules and make the magic happen. The art of guiding chaos into clarity, turning dead-end discussions into breakthroughs, and making collaboration actually work. Sounds interesting? Then come join us. Let's get disruptive.
Hola!
Hola!
Hello, everybody!
Hey, everyone!
Nice to be back. Nice to, see you again, Ale.
Of course, always nice to see you too, Andre.
Another interesting location.
Cubo!
We changed it up, of course, because we want to keep it interesting, not just for our listeners, but also for us.
Por supuesto!
And today we're at a very cool place. We're not at one restaurant, but we're at a place that has 12 restaurants together.
And there's a lot of nice food. It's a food court.
It's a food court here in the middle of Berlin. And it's a really interesting place because you have these individual restaurants.
We do, exactly.
And they're all together sharing this space.
Yes, which is already very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting because no single restaurant stands above the rest, right? There's no bigger sign from one restaurant in comparison to the others. Everybody has kind of the same space.
Yes, they do.
And together they're sharing this venue, and it becomes this beautiful collaborative space of a food court.
There's no business for only one person. They already know that by being in one spot, they can have business for everyone. There's business for everyone in here.
Which is counterintuitive, right? You would think that, hey, these other places, these other restaurants are taking away my business. They're taking away my customers.
These guys have basically proven quite the contrary. That same space with the same, just sharing the same location, it's actually a good idea for business. But got us a little bit into thinking, right, Andre?
Yeah, it did. But first of all, we do have to share, as always, what type of food we had. And I think today, I'll leave that up to you, mi amigo.
Mi amigo, con mucho gusto. We had nice tacos today with gringas. I mean, not bad. And we were having the conversation with Andre. The very nice thing about Berlin is finding the right tortilla. You get the right tortilla and you get the right taco. Yeah. There's no way to have it around.
And with right, we mean corn.
Exactly.
Very simple.
Yes,
corn tortilla.
It has to be the right way.
It was delicious. And I think you definitely connected with your roots.
Yes, by all means.
But I also spent time in Latino communities in Texas, in the United States. And I also connected with my roots.
Yeah.
So I think we're both feeling very at home here.
Yes, by all means.
We're also inspired by the collaborative nature of the food court.
Of the space, exactly, yeah.
And the idea got us thinking, right? The idea being different parties, in this case not people, but restaurants. Businesses, sharing a competitive space, but doing it in a way that doesn't overshadow one another.
Exactly.
And ultimately brings more benefit than if they were doing it on their own.
So no competition, more cooperation.
More cooperation.
How often do we see that in our lives?
Collaboration, yeah. It's definitely something we don't see as often anymore, but it holds in terms of the value it provides.
Yes.
And I think that got us thinking about something that maybe, we're a little bit more accustomed to.
Yep.
I've never run a food court. I don't know about you.
I mean, not the part of the food court. I mean, the food we're very good at the eating, not at the preparing necessarily.
Maybe one day we'll get to opening a restaurant and being more in the food business. But right now...
Facilitators Canteen. Tell us if you would be interested.
Yeah. Maybe when we get a little bit more popular with Facilitators Memoirs, we'll have the
that will be the product.
Canteen. We'll let you know, of course, dear viewers, don't worry. We'll let you know when that happens. But for now, we wanted to kind of connect that idea of collaboration, of getting together, taking out the ego, taking out the importance of each individual, and placing that importance rather on the collective shared experience and the output that is created through a collaborative process.
Yeah. And I mean, that gives us a little bit of an intro into what would be interesting from the point of view of collaboration. But I'm actually quite curious. You were also saying that we're experts on this. Do you have an example of this yourself, Andre?
You're right. It's always easier to understand what we're talking about through an example. I do have a good example.
Yep.
I'm going to come back to my work with kids and youth.
Yep.
Because the idea of an ego and it's mine. No, it's mine. It's mine.
It's
no,
actually
it's
many
mine.
egos.
Yeah, it's a common thread when working with children. I think even anyone who has children will know this idea is very strong in children.
Yeah.
It's natural. We want to become independent. The idea of the self forms. Well, okay, but of course it is a thing I need to manage in a workshop with kids. So
True.
let me give a concrete example.
Yeah.
In one of my projects, I do shadow theater workshops.
Yep.
And it's a project called Mathe mal Kunst in German, which means math times art.
Yes.
And the idea of the project is to create an experience in a 4-hour workshop
Yeah.
for kids, generally between the grades 3 to 6, of experiencing math, science, and art together in harmony.
Yeah. Okay.
And understanding certain phenomena and using them in a creative way.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right? So there's not math over here, science somewhere else.
They're together.
Art is something completely different. No,
Yeah.
they're together. They're connected.
Yeah.
And we're using them all and combining them to create something new.
Right. Okay.
And so it's a creative process where we use shadow art, so shadow theater art, and sound art.
Right. Combination of the two.
Okay, so we need the idea is within 4 hours, the group of kids, let's say a group of 25 school kids,
Yeah,
a school
that's
class.
quite a lot.
Right? Very diverse type of personalities, as one would imagine in a
25 big egos.
person group, especially this age group, 3rd to 6th grade.
Yeah.
Boys and girls mixed is always an issue at this age as well. But the idea is that they create, within these 4 hours, their own shadow theater production.
All right. So they do it all the way until the production, until it's
Right. And they perform. The end of the workshop is them performing their piece.
amazing. Great.
All within
Okay.
4 hours.
Okay.
Which is a tight schedule.
It's a tight schedule. They have to use their time properly.
They do have to use their time properly. And it also is very important to the process
Yeah.
that it's a shared piece. It's not different parts that we put together.
Right.
It's one production.
So like we would say like a couple of sketches that are put together, kind of suit together.
Right.
They have to have like a line.
Right. And we're not,
Right.
splitting it up into specific episodes where each episode has its own story. No. It's one big story.
Right.
But everybody has their role and their part to play.
That means they're connected. They're all
Yes.
connected.
And it's our job as the facilitators to create that connection.
Right.
But also, as anyone who's worked with children will know,
Yeah.
they bring an idea into a creative process.
Yes.
And it's very important to them that it's their idea.
Exactly. That it stays exactly as they said it and it's executed exactly the way they had it.
Right. If somebody else would say the same idea a few minutes later,
That's my idea.
hey, you stole my idea, and
Exactly.
we have a conflict.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
that's something that needs to be managed. And
Right.
so taking out that ego and basically disconnecting the idea, the creative idea, from the person who gave the idea.
Right, exactly.
That's kind of the skill.
That is more important the idea by itself than
Right.
who said the idea.
Right. And that's exactly the method I use as well.
Uh-huh.
So what I do is I don't speak about, hey, thank you, Louis, for your idea.
Yes.
So Louis's idea was, and keep referring to Louis's idea.
As the property of Louis.
Right. So what I do is, hey, Louis, thank you for your idea, because of course recognition is important, right?
Yes.
I value your idea. You did a great job of bringing up that idea.
So that's very important. So the part of recognition is there. We
Right.
can use recognition.
Because we do have to feed the ego. We do have to feed the individual.
Right.
That is important because human beings in general want to be seen.
By all means.
And they respond well to being seen. They feel more connected to a group when they're being seen by other members of that group. So I can't leave that out. I do have to tickle the ego just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't refer to it as Louis's idea from there on.
Right.
I just refer to the idea.
The idea itself.
So these are our characters in the story. Or this is our background.
Right.
Or this is what happens in the first night of the story.
Right. So the idea is just the idea now.
The idea is just the idea. And that's how I do it with my part of the group, which is generally the shadow theater art, and my colleague, who generally is more experienced with music and sound. She does it with the sound element.
Yep.
And then it's also not, hey, I came up, Amy came up with this great sound.
Yes.
It's like, no, this is the sound that we're going to play when a new day begins in the
So
story.
it's a new identity for the idea. That's actually quite
Right.
nice.
And we're just taking the idea and
Yeah.
then we're molding the ideas together into a piece.
Nice.
And at the end, the experience isn't, oh, hey, my part was great, but the whole shadow theater production was great.
It was even better.
And they feel proud, and as feedback, they often say, hey, I can't believe we did it, and I can't believe we worked together so well in a group.
They collaborated. That's
so they collaborate. And
that's
often the teachers that are there with them as well also give that feedback of saying, we've never seen them work together that well before.
Yes, I can imagine.
And how do I achieve that? Well, exactly with this method of detaching the idea from the person, but also not forgetting to value and recognize the person before doing so.
Yeah.
And then making it all about the ideas and connecting the ideas to the bigger goal.
Yep.
And I like having a bigger kind of project-oriented goal, in this case the theater piece at the end, that we're all working towards, because it gives people clarity as to what we're doing with their idea.
Right.
And then it's a puzzle piece where at the end we have a theater production where everybody feels like they're a part of it.
Yeah.
But it belongs to the group and not to an individual.
So yes, the idea is reflected in the final production, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly as you said it at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's there. It's somewhere diluted in a very positive way.
Right. Lewis's idea may not be the same idea Lewis brought.
Exactly.
But if it wasn't for Lewis bringing in his idea, we wouldn't have any of it.
I really appreciate the fact that in your example, and you're going exactly into that part, right? You are doing two things from my point of view. You are giving the idea a new identity, which is exactly what you were saying. You detach it from the person. You make it into a group identity now. Okay, thank you. Now it's part of the whole puzzle that we're trying to bring into the to build here in the board. And then the second part is that you're not only detaching the idea from that identity, but you're also saying the sum of the parts is going to be bigger than just your idea altogether.
That's a good way to put it,
It's very nice that you're giving me this piece of the puzzle, but it's not the puzzle. Let's make sure that we find a place for this idea, for this piece, but it's going to be something that we're going to be creating together. So it's a kind of that vibe of we're building this puzzle together, right?
And that some of the parts are bigger than the individual parts. The result is bigger than the individual parts. I think that puts it perfectly together. Right? Through the harmony, through the connections, there's new value created.
Exactly. Just by doing it, by having the conversation also with the other people, and just going through the process of transforming that idea into something even more productive than what it was. 1-on-1 is not 2 anymore. It's going to be 3. It's going to be 4. It's going to be 5. Right? That makes the whole final product by far bigger, by far more interesting.
I think so, and I'm certain of the fact that you, as somebody who works with adults more than kids and youth, has also made use of this important topic of collaboration within workshops.
Yes, it's quite interesting that you're also putting it like that, Andre, because you're giving me a very interesting segue, because for us, collaboration is not even a buzzword. It's something that we are dealing with every single day. There's no way that we are giving sessions by just saying what we do or what we basically bring to the equation without taking into consideration the rest of the participants. It reminds me a little bit also of, and this is also going to be most likely a sharing also for our listeners, but especially during pandemic times, I worked a lot with the topic of emotional intelligence, because, first of all, I was already talking about it slightly before the pandemic happened, but during the pandemic it became a very important topic because people were dealing with their emotions, right?
It was a tough time emotionally for a lot of people.
Exactly. So the mental health.
Great time to bring emotional intelligence and how we can improve our mental health and emotional well-being.
That's right. And then the part of the mental health and how we deal with emotions was a big topic. But then there's so much that you can say about emotions, that you can say also about how to deal with them without starting to repeat yourself into the whole concept. So we created a concept that was basically like, okay, we're going to be coming together for 1 hour during the lunch break, and we're going to be talking about a topic. And at the very beginning, it was so that it was Ale talking about emotional intelligence and saying how interesting it was, how cool it was, and then people would be listening and they would be like interested or not interested. Until I started to notice, okay, I'm not going into what I really could be doing with this, because instead of putting all the focus on me and the knowledge that I have that I want to share with everyone, I could be doing it in a different way. And what I did was that I started to look for people who had already interesting topics or wanted to talk about something that was relevant to them, maybe even what they were going through in that moment with their mental health and their processes, right? Which was super, super hard. And instead of putting the attention on the topic that I was bringing, I was then putting the attention on the person who was bringing a topic that day.
Right.
So we were basically saying, like, today we're going to be talking about the situation that this person is going through, or we're going to be talking about time management from the point of view of now that we are working also remotely. And then we will have one person that will give us an example. And instead of then me saying, okay, and this is how it's connected to emotional intelligence, instead of doing that, what I would do would be, everyone who is in the call, do you feel connected to what our speaker told us today? And then you would start a conversation, a dialogue, right? That dialogue would bring into everyone putting some piece of information that made that presentation even bigger, even more interesting, even more encouraging.
But it all kind of comes from that same starting point of what that one person shared.
Exactly.
And that starts a process of everybody adding to it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then maybe also I would imagine, I don't know if this is how it went, but I would also imagine through that, not just adding to it, but also bringing in new kind of different perspectives or stories from their personal experience.
From their point of view, exactly, and how people were living those emotions and that process. So it was not me talking about emotions, but it was people talking about their emotions in a very natural, safe space, right? And in a way that people felt comfortable with. And then what happened was that literally by doing this, I was, without even looking at it like that, I was opening the house, like I was opening my house, which was the space that I had created. I was literally opening the house and letting people know, like, hey, I might be the host, but you are the ones who are going to be making this happen.
Right, and feel free to connect with each other, not just with me.
I'm just going to be here. I'm going to be bringing maybe the cocktails. I'm going to be bringing the food. But you are the ones who are actually making this happen. Because I would step back, let people have the conversation, and maybe at some point during the conversation I would guide some of the conversations into how emotional intelligence is relevant here, how this is connected to that topic, to this, to that. But then all of a sudden the ego was not there. It was not Ale talking, it was not anyone talking, it was actually everyone's idea coming into the conversation. And what came out of that was that every single time we were having these lunches, people became, like, they left even more energized because they felt that once again, like it happened to you, at the end of the process, the sum of the parts were bigger. Like just by having this conversation, I noticed, oh, I'm not alone. I now know another person that is going through this, and that's super valuable. And not only that, I also realized that there are some techniques that I can use that are going to help me also with my emotional management. And important also with this, there were not frameworks that I was presenting. It was not me saying like, hey, look at this very fancy framework that you could be using. It was literally tips from people living their emotions, dealing with them in the most natural way, and finding ways to communicate with one another. Hey, this worked with me. Maybe this is going to work with you. This kind of giving tips and being there for the other person became very, very important during that time.
That's interesting. So the takeaway that I hear from that is, as a facilitator, there's power in stepping back within a workshop, putting the spotlight from the very beginning on the participants, and engaging them in a discourse amongst each other. That is similar to my example, having a focus on the ideas, on the stories, and not the people behind it.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And you're doing that, you're setting the tone for taking the ego out by taking your own ego out from the very beginning, which is something that people notice when they go to a workshop. They notice if the facilitator is speaking a lot, or
even
not.
Putting their ego into the whole thing. They want to sell me something, or do they want to tell me something that I should be doing or should be encouraging, like, or are they leaving me the freedom to actually make decisions also on my own?
Also, something we've talked about in a previous episode is the expectation of you being as a facilitator, you being the expert,
and
then them coming to you thinking that you're going to help them, you're going to give them the answers they need.
Like in school,
right? Like in school. Whereas you're creating a space where they're learning that they may already have some of the answers. They just didn't know it. Or some of the answers could be in life can be found in life when talking with other people. And
by just talking to other people.
Collaborating with other people, with sharing ideas, with being open and vulnerable, and not maybe seeking out an expert who will give you all the answers, which is a powerful experience.
Because I really like also that from both our examples, Andre, that I'm seeing, in your case, for example, you were working on there's no idea that it's the property of a person. In my case, I was also going with the idea of there's no emotion that is just yours.
Right.
We all share emotions. We all share those. And in the same way that you were also telling everyone, like, your idea is also as valid as anyone else's. We're just going to take that little piece of the puzzle and we're going to find the place where it fits even better for our board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what I guess we both noticed is that creates a very dynamic setting that leaves people leaving happy and connected.
Yeah. That leaves also the space for everyone to basically say, I am in a space where my input, my idea, my insight is really valuable. And not only that, all of a sudden I become also an expert. Not only the facilitator knows everything, I can also bring something that can be valuable and can be also helpful for other people. And I think just that idea by itself is so powerful. Just thinking that you're not the only person that's basically bringing the idea, but basically you are taking something that's going to help other people. Yeah. And you came just for a session. You just came for a session, but you left being an expert on something, right? Like actually noticing that you're good at something.
That's empowerment, right?
Yeah.
That's empowerment. Adios mio. Look at where we arrived just by going to a food court.
Just by going to a food court and observing the collaborations that are happening all around us.
Feeling inspired, having a couple tacos in us.
Yes.
I think, I'm happy with the way this went, and I'm happy also that you listened to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, dear listener, and I hope by now you've dropped a like and a subscribe.
By all means,
if
please.
If not, please do so. And
you gotta collaborate with us.
Collaborate, join the creative process. Take the ego out of it and drop that subscribe button and like.
Take the ego away and be part of the collective.
Absolutely. And let us know if you have any ideas for topics you'd like us to talk about. Give us feedback. Share the podcast with your friends and family and colleagues. And help us get the word out about these topics. And happy that you tuned in today.
And I would say from my side, and enjoying tacos as we both do, the process of facilitation, let's remember that it's basically like creating a taco. Every single person is putting a different ingredient, but at the end, that taco would not be the same without every single ingredient that we're all putting.
Right, and it tastes better.
It tastes better
than if you had each individual ingredient on its own.
Cannot have onion alone. You cannot have onion alone. If you put it to the taco, then it's gonna be very, very, very.
I like onions, but I also like the mixture of onions, and the meat and cheese and the coriander and all this good stuff.
All the mixture is basically what makes it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's take that inspiration. Let's take that image of a delicious taco
and keep thinking about it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, listeners. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you for listening to us.
Bye-bye.